average of 250 new benefit claims linked to anxiety alone are being passed on a daily basis under Labour.
Yeah, that's as Britain has been branded the sick man of the G7, and business leaders warn of its impact on the economy. OK,
let's speak to Elliot Keck now, the campaign's director at the Taxpayers Alliance. Elliot, this is, I mean, why are people getting money from the government if they say they're anxious?
Well, I think that's precisely the problem. It used to be the case that benefits were given out for primarily physical-based conditions, and these are conditions that are easily testable, easily definable and easily measurable. The problem with mental health conditions is, bluntly, not only can they be exaggerated, mental health conditions can actually be faked if people know the right buzzwords, if people know the right attitudes that they have to express, and if people get the right coaching. And as a result, I'm afraid to say that I think a lot of these people claiming for these benefits don't actually need it, and it's costing the taxpayer huge amounts of money.
I mean, one of the problems here, Elliot, as well, is many of these are very young people, certainly young men as well.
Yeah, listen, lots of this are being driven by the younger generation, people in their late teens, 20s, often including graduates. And I think what we have to remember here is that the Labour MPs and Labour government, these are politicians that came of political age during a time when one of the great battles for left-wing politics was putting mental health on parity with physical health in terms of the way the government, the NHS and the benefit system treated it. And while that may have been well-intentioned, the problem is we don't really have any objectively measurable way to define the gravity and extent of someone's mental health problem. That means the benefit system has simply not been able to cope.
It does seem that across the board people recognise something has gone terribly wrong here. I mean, Rachel Reeves was trying to reduce the benefits budget last year. Of course, or earlier this year, I should say, there was a rebellion against that. The Tories have been campaigning on this vociferously. Even Ed Davey at the start of this week was saying he thought there was huge amounts of fraud in the system of particularly disability benefits. Do you think that there might be a political movement here after all these numbers just continue to grow and grow?
I think the problem with the intentions of particularly the Labour government with regard to disability and health benefits is where they're actually coming from. So the reason why they decided to try and crack down on welfare benefit spending was because they were facing a fiscal emergency, not out of any ideological belief that it's wrong that, you know, people in their 20s with depression are being subject to a life on benefits and a life out of work. And that's why the reforms were botched, because they didn't actually look at, for example, changing the rules on claiming for mental health reasons. They didn't look at changes to the way that benefits are assessed. They essentially looked at the number of points that you had to score in order to claim benefits, and that meant you ended up catching a lot of people with genuinely serious conditions. There were issues about, for example, I think if you could wash your upper half but not your lower half, you wouldn't be able to gain access to benefits. So it was a botched attempt based on flawed policy reasoning that essentially was driven solely by fiscal ramifications and not broader societal ones as well.
OK, Elliot, thank you very much there. That is Head of Campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance, Elliot Keck there.